welcome to Planet Sci-Fi from the makers of Planet Marzipan. I'm your host, Craig Stu. Hello and welcome to Planet Sci-Fi. I'm Craig and I'm joined this week with some esteemed colleagues. First off, Mikie, how we doing?
Okay. Life. Don't talk to me about life.
Ooh, starting already. And up in the Wales of Scotland, Stuart Mitchell. How are you doing, Stu? You all right?
I'm not bad. How are you?
Not too bad for a Monday, and just getting primed because as we record this, we are all close to holiday season. So I'm well looking forward to hitting my flight to Italy on Saturday. But by the time this goes out, I'll be back and I'll either be covered in bruises or covered in sunburn. We'll see how it all goes.
You will be red.
Yeah. And last and by definitely not least, Stu Chandler. Hi, Stu.
Hello.
How we doing?
You're right. How's it going?
That's not too bad, mate. Now, am I remembering right that this was your choice this week?
It is. I'm afraid so. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Yes. Now, I'll put my hands up in so much as like I'm only really familiar, particularly with the TV series. Did watch the film. Never, unlike Mikie, because Mikie, you were quite hardcore into the books and things and everything back in the day. We'll just go into that in a bit. But I'm really more just familiar with the TV series and the film. And I've for this pod, I've rewatched the BBC series. I pulled out my special edition DVD that came out back in what was it? But 2002, I think they did on it. So, and to be fair, it's been such a long time since I've watched it. So thank you for getting us shook around to re-looking at it. So we'll start with you there. Why did you want to pick Hitchhikers for the episode? What's your story?
Well, Hitchhikers, with Hitchhikers, I would say it goes back to that formative idea of sci-fi for me. So I discovered the TV series when it came out when I was 10 years old, and I remember watching it weekly, probably with my parents, and then I went into the books, and at that point there was only Hitchhiker's Guide and The Restaurant in the Universe that were out, so I devoured those. And as I say, the TV series I thought it was amazing. I think it formed a lot of things in my early life, my sense of humor. I think it sort of informed my love of prog rock.
Yeah, the Eagles are going to answer that bit there.
Yeah. And it's very British, it's very funny, and it's just fantastic. What a great show. Watching it back as I did yesterday, some of it looks a bit shonky, but I mean, the ideas, it's like old Doctor Who. The ideas are just incredible.
Yeah, so a TV series that was made in 1981, which I thought back then was going to be unfilmable.
Yeah.
But they did it.
And, I was watching some of the making ofs yesterday on Blu-ray, and it's incredible what they did and how they did it. It sort of blows the mind a little bit how they achieved it, to be honest. Much like Star Wars, but it's sort of hundreds of people sort of doing tiny things that wouldn't take half an hour these days. So
that's it. So Mikie, what was your first dabble into the Hitchhikers?
Well, for me, it was a TV series again. I'd have been 8 at the time. I remember sitting with my mother watching it vividly. And when I went to comprehensive school, I happened to have a conversation with my biology teacher, who obviously knew as well. God rest his soul. He introduced me to to the radio series,
Hmm.
and he had obviously by then it was only like two seasons that had been put out. So he lent me them on cassette. Um, and I took them home over that weekend and I had to give them straight back and absolutely devoured them, copied them. On those piracy is bad stickers
No,
on the
no,
on the
no,
back
none of
tapes.
us ever did anything like that. No, 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 no.
Um, and I was just so enamored by the whole thing. Um, and how I mean, obviously, I was young. I didn't understand what came first. It was very much a
Mhm.
wibbly wobbly chicken and egg situation with Douglas. But I went from there to the books. I at the time was a member of that Britannia book club,
Yeah.
and um, when I first got them in print, the fourth book had just come out. Well, I'm not sure what year that was. Um, so it was the trilogy in four parts. I now have a lovely hardback edition of the mostly harmless book tagged on the end.
Mhm.
Um, which, to be fair, I've only read the once, and it doesn't quite. But the thing that drew me in the most, and I think this is the same with a lot of Douglas's stuff, it's the comedy, it's the pacing, and it's the characters
Yeah.
and the situations. If you were to try to sell somebody the plot of Hitchhikers, it would be nigh and impossible. It
Yeah.
is practically a group of people where things happen to.
Well, I'll give you
You
that.
know?
What I'll do is I'll do a quick thing for anybody who doesn't know the basic plot of Hitchhiker. So I'll do what we do on the bit of the old Planet Marzipan. We'll do a bit of that on with the Wikipedia. So basically, the series follows the adventures of a hapless Englishman, Arthur Dent, and his friend Ford Prefect, an alien who writes for the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, a pan-galactic encyclopedia and travel guide. After Earth is destroyed in the first episode, Arthur and Ford find themselves aboard a stolen spaceship piloted by Zaphod Beeblebrox, Ford's semi-cousin and galactic president, depressed robot Marvin and Trillian, the only other human survivor of Earth's destruction. That's a paragraph. It doesn't even touch the surface. But
No.
It doesn't.
that's
And one last thing. I mean, obviously, I used to refer to this program a lot, and another friend of mine and Craig's, Pamela, used to call me Marvin because I was quote unquote miserable all the time. So I just took on the mantle, really. It became a parody of itself. And then, as the years rolled on, we all got the promise of the movie, and I don't hate it. I can take it for what it is, but I don't love it either. I think it was a missed opportunity. I think it's
Yeah.
unfortunate Douglas passed away so soon into its production. But it's lived with me all my life, and I still quote from it to this
Yeah.
day. If something's comes along and it's amazing, it's not just amazing, it's
it's
amazingly
amazing.
amazing.
Yeah, that
You know,
that's been a running joke forever, hasn't it? Yeah.
it just has. Yeah, it's part of my blood as much as Doctor Who is and a lot of other sci-fi. It's up there. It's in my top five.
Yeah. Easy.
Hey, Stu Mitchell, what's yours?
Well,
What's your
obviously, I'm so
story?
much younger than all you guys, so obviously I don't remember the TV
Yes, yeah.
series. But I did first get into it, I think, through the cassette tapes of the reading of the audiobooks that Stephen Moore did back in the day. And that was sort of my intro to it. And then I went backwards, and when video came out, the TV series. And then when I got the chance to get the audio tapes of the radio series, and then read the books. So I kind of covered all of it over that period of time, which means that sometimes my frame of reference is slightly different from, say, my partner who she read the books first. I think that's a weird thing I think about Hitchhikers. No matter where you came to it first is your frame of reference, and it can be completely different from what somebody else says who you think you're talking about the same thing, and then they're coming at it very differently. But we watched it over the course of the weekend, and again, similarly, how quotable, and
Oh,
how much of it like Craig, I hadn't really watched it in quite a while, and how much of it I could still recite. You know, and then there's the sort of lines that we still use in our daily thing, and you forget where they come from, and then you watch it and you go, oh, that's where it came from. Um, and some could only have come from that. For some reason, the eddies in the space-time continuum is at his sofa. It's one of those lines that gets used for some reason in our house all the time. I have no idea where and how we managed to shoehorn that in, but it does. I think it's a work of genius. I think it genuinely is, because I've never seen anything that works on so many different mediums and that appeals to, I think, loads of people from totally different backgrounds, totally different interests, and I think it says people who like silly, because it's at its heart very silly.
Definitely very silly. And I think, I'm the same as you guys. It was the TV series that got me. I did watch it as a kid on BBC Two when it was broadcast, and watched it through. And to me, it was also the kind of humor that I've always liked. And if you take the science fiction element out of it, it's got your kind of Spike Milligan-esque surrealist humor. It's got the Monty Python absurdity kind of level. So it's just so quintessentially British, and it's so quintessentially a lot of the style of it of its time. And it's, I don't know how in my head it would resonate with younger audiences now, because so many of the references and so many of the things, even the beginning about about people being obsessed with digital watches and stuff, and then that's so much of its late 70s of its time.
Very true. But you could just swap that out with smartphones, couldn't you? So
this is it. This is it. But let's just go right back to the beginning. Now, we've talked about the TV series, we've talked about the radio show. This is, it's a multimedia, and it was one of probably the first multimedia franchises, shall we say, that evolved, because it was something that actually started as a radio play first.
Yeah.
Normally, in this kind of cycle we're in now, it tends to be more books that get developed into TV series, that get it developed into films, or TV series that spin off into films, or films that spin off into TV series. This was something that within a space of just a couple of years was a radio show, a TV show, and then books. It's a bit of a odd way around, isn't it?
It is most certainly. It's sort of it's almost backwards, I think. And I've quoting Douglas Adams there. It's sort of, he said he did it backwards, which is entirely correct, and sort of very Hitchhikers in its own way, really. It's, it's sort of, there was sort of a bidding war, I think, for the book rights based on the TV series, based on the radio series.
I think it was a Pan Books who got the rights for the books, and I think there was the guy, they were looking for something different, because hadn't they just done a big deal and it's making a fortune out of Jackie Collins, and there was one of the guys who was a development guy who was looking for something new, and he got to listen to the radio series, and I think he was actually saying it was in the shower when he was listening to the radio series. He was like, "This is for me."
One thing I learned from doing this, and I hadn't quite realised, is it's a reason the BBC lost the goodies.
Is that right?
Oh,
because they had to allocate a certain amount of money, because it was a very expensive production, and they couldn't put that money towards the goodies, who then went to ITV, as was, and that was how they lost the goodies. So there you go. I know which one I'd rather have. Much as I enjoy the goodies, I think it was a unique piece of television.
Definitely.
It was also it was very expensive from the point of view that they used a lot of audio effects, which was, pushing the Radiophonic Workshop to its limits. And also it was the first radio show that they broadcast in stereo.
Yeah.
And
Yes. Yeah, it was, yeah.
incidentally, also the first BBC radio series to be put out on compact disc. So it hit a lot of firsts, did Hitchhikers. But it's funny that thing that you mentioned about the how things develop and where the roots started, because in essence, the BBC used radio as a platform for your Oxbridge lots, before they hit TV. But this was like, it wasn't just a play; it was almost drama. It's
Yeah.
and for something that size to start on radio was, I think, it was probably quite risky for the BBC. I think they must have had a lot of faith in what Douglas Adams was selling them in effect. Somebody at the BBC must have really, really liked it, or was very, very switched on to allow it to go ahead. I would be very surprised if something like this would get made in the here and now.
But it wouldn't, because back in the day,
Yeah.
yes, you could say the BBC was full of like lovies and lots of like, Mason type handshake situations and stuff going on, but they would actually take risks on TV series and they would take risks on radio, because if they think the idea was quite good, they'd give them 13 episodes, or they'd give them the 6 or 8 episodes, go and see if it'll work. If it'll work, great. If it doesn't work, it's not the end of the world. And then now it goes through how many focus groups and what's all the demographics and what's all the charts on it, what they're going to make it.
Yeah.
It's made by committee, and they've got to tick so many boxes to get something made now. And yeah, I guess there's still room for like niche audience stuff. But
I mean, Adams was trying out the ideas for a long time, wasn't he, beforehand, in the likes of Doctor Who and the Pirate Planet and things like that, and it was all the ideas were there. They were burbling around before he finally got it coalesced into something.
I mean, you just need to see how much of Shada ended up in the Life universe and everything to know that he was absolutely not not against the idea of reusing those scripts. It's interesting as well. I guess the thing that is forgotten, and I was looking at this, is that when you're talking about the radio series, that Douglas Adams didn't actually write all of it himself. He wrote the vast majority of it, but John Lloyd co-wrote a couple of episodes as well. And John Lloyd, obviously now best known for QI, probably.
I was going to say John Lloyd. Whatever happened to him?
Interviews with him about Douglas Adams are really interesting, because the rivalry between those two seemed to be. They seem to be very close friends, but they really wanted to continually outdo each other. And I find it really interesting, and I think it's something that John Lloyd probably regrets now. But it's fascinating when you think of how well they both did, and they're chosen.
I think for Douglas as well, though, and the reason why he brought John in was that he'd gone such a long time writing stuff and just not getting anywhere, to all of a sudden, writing for a radio show, and I'm script editor for Doctor Who, happening at the same time that he was burning himself out. It's like it's either all sugar or all shite, and he got what he wanted, and then when he got it, I would imagine it would be the same as when Stephen Moffat was trying to spin plates of Doctor Who and Sherlock. There's only so much you can do. You love what you're writing down on paper, but managing it all must be really, really difficult. But to get his dream realized, it must have been amazing. It really must have been.
I mean, I think you could put a case that he didn't manage it. If you actually look at the flow of Hitchhiker's Guide, I mean, I love it. But part of the reason I love it is because it makes no sense at all. It is like I was writing this as I went along. Right, what am I going to do next? I'm not. We were talking about this when watching it. Do you think he knew what the ending was at the beginning? Because I don't think he knew what the ending was until about 10 minutes before he wrote the ending.
I mean, he just sort of continually wrote himself into corners, didn't he? It's sort of, the Earth gets destroyed. They get thrown off a spaceship. They get rescued. But what happens next? Oh, the ship crashes.
Well, I know in an interview he did say about it's where you have to be as ingenious and clever as you can, and try to find ways to get yourself out of the boxes that you're putting yourself in. But he was challenging himself to, if you're going to put yourself in a box, your resolution to get out of that box must be as weighty as the cause that got you into it. It's got to have a balance. So yes, you can have some like flippant things, but the point where at the very beginning, where Arthur and Ford get thrown out of the Vogon ship, um, and they were in space and there was nobody around them. That's when getting rescued by the ship, but he needed something, and that's why he came up with the improbability drive to
Yeah.
make sure that it made some kind of sense. And then the importance of the improbability drive after that point sends the story in another direction. So I think you're right. I think it wasn't like plotted in a kind of linear fashion. It was a let's create ourselves a puzzle and find a way out of the puzzle to get to the next puzzle.
Yeah.
And go from there. And by God, there's some like ingenious stuff there.
I can't. I'm watching it yesterday and on Saturday. I couldn't believe how much was packed into basically 3 hours and 20 minutes. It was so much story goes on to get from point A to point Z, and it sort of makes sense as you go. Some of it doesn't. Some of it I couldn't remember at all. And the Galactic Police, for instance, I couldn't remember. I was like, hell, who are these?
Yeah. I mean,
But then
yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
it's
I mean-
funny because as well, watching the episode, because I did happen to have, I was sitting there and Pepper was lying on the sofa behind me, transfixed, because you know what cats are like. If it's a cartoon or something
Yeah.
that's like flashy and big, they get mesmerized with it. And I think it lost her a little bit in about episode 4 or something, where you find out about, it was the mice who had the Earth constructed, and it was the mice who are basically playing with the people and testing us. Pepper being a cat, completely, she was like against that completely. He's like bullshit, Yeah. Us cats are the supreme leaders, not the mice.
When we're talking about the idea of writing yourself into a corner, part of me was, and part of the conversation was, Russell T Davies, can you watch this, please? Learn a few lessons.
Well, the other genius aspect, of course, is the guide itself, being the narrator, which it's absolutely just gives show such a point of difference, I think, and the animation as well.
It is, but you think, when it comes to like seeing the future, you look at how things like the communicator from Star Trek, the pad from Star Trek, The Next Generation, all these things here. But you look at the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, you take a step back, that book is in our pockets.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
with everything from Wikipedia to the likes of Siri and stuff like that, and you can have your phone talk to you. All you've got to do is just get a voice of like Peter Jones or something like that.
I know. I mean,
it's there.
It's ironic for a man who at that point in time he hated technology, and he grew to love it eventually. But I think he foretold the internet. Bizarre.
You just get it boggles and baffles the mind.
So if you're throwing as many things into the mix as Douglas Adams was, some of it's going to hit. I mean, there's so many things in hinted at or shown in the books that some of it is going to have stuck, and some of it maybe not quite so much.
Yeah, but I mean, what you were saying before this too as well about the quality of the animation and the way that the book was realized for television back then was so far ahead of its time.
Absolutely, it was. Yeah, and it was so painstakingly done. I mean, it was sort of it's looking at it now, you think, oh yeah, computer graphics, but it's not. It was all hand drawn, and even down to the letters, on the computer screen that come up, they were individually revealed, sort of in a Letraset kind of way.
Yeah. I think it was realized better in the TV series than what the movie did. I think the movie went too far and didn't keep that graphical element to it. It was too animated. As again, I can take it for what it is and the year it was put out. But the original TV series just nailed it for me. And whenever I think of that book, even if I was to look at it, if I was to pick up an iPad now and I wanted to browse the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, I would expect it to look exactly like that. You know, I wouldn't want to have it look any other way. It's just ingrained up there now. But yeah, the amount of work that went into making that is just absolutely awesome. It really is.
And
And
where
go
the
on.
story goes to, from being rescued and then with the improbability drive, and then to where you actually get from there to the four, the 6 episodes, where you go all the way through like Magrathea and all the rest of it, to finding out that the Earth was actually demolished by accident.
Yeah.
Because and all the things where the smaller part of the story gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and the consequences get bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah, it's Douglas Adams's ability to apply irony in such huge tower blocks. It's like the Earth gets destroyed 10 minutes before the computer program ends.
Yeah.
You know, not like years, 10 minutes. And then to find out that we're not ape descendants, we're descended from them, Godofrinchans.
Yeah.
Which is an
The middle
entirely
managers,
different story.
the middle managers, and the
that is
hairdressers,
just
and
so
everything.
hilarious. I mean, that is one of my. It's late to say, but it's probably one of my favorite parts of the entire series. It's just that bit where the arc captain's going. As far as I can remember, we were programmed to crash, and there was a terribly good reason for it, but I can't for the life of me remember what it is.
Yeah.
And Ford Prefect turns around and says, "You're all a bunch of bloody loonies," and the captain goes, "Yes, that was it. That was exactly it." And I'm like, "Oh my God!" And it was just so. And the tongue-in-cheek thing is the Golgafrinchian planet, who just sort of like expelled this useless third of their population, died from a disease brought on by a dirty telephone.
Yeah.
It just writes itself. Well, it doesn't write itself, but it was just genius, start to finish. Absolute genius.
Yeah, they died because the telephone disinfectant people were just got shot of. It's just brilliant.
Yeah.
And the fact that these people believed the story that they were told, that this great intergalactic goat was going to come and eat the planet.
Yeah.
It's just, and he plays on it so much. I think he enjoys, like, even the people that are portrayed to be the geniuses of the story are absolutely thick or stupid or lazy. And, like, take Zaphod Beeblebrox, he's president of the universe, the galaxy,
And he's just a dick.
And he's just a lazy bum. He's not stupid. He just doesn't want to do any work to achieve what he wants. The guy invented the Pan-Galactic Gargle Blaster. He's not stupid, but who would invent a drink that feels like you're being bashed over the head with a lemon wrapped around a gold brick? It's just layers and layers and layers of this pure insanity that just weaves into a wonderful tapestry. It's amazing. One of the things that drew me in, when I first picked up the book, I was like, I'm not sure if I'm going to enjoy this. And one of my favorite lines in literature, not just the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, is where he describes the Vogon constructor fleet arriving above Earth. And he says there were these great big yellow slabs hanging in the sky in exactly the same way that bricks don't.
Yes, I remember that. Yeah.
Absolute genius. I love that line. I think it's absolutely genius.
Can I add in as well about the Pan-Galactic Gargle Blaster? If you're anybody with watching the DVD or TV show, the Blu-ray version of all the rest, keep your eye out because the green alien who dies whilst having the pan-galactic gargle blaster is Cleo Rocos. So any of you Kenny Everett fans out there,
Indeed.
the legend that is Cleo Rocos. She was brilliant.
And they rather naughtily used a Coca-Cola font in the TV series, which was also quite good.
Do you think that Douglas Adams then working with Graham Chapman as he did and sort of, I guess, latter year Python was an influence, or do you think he kind of
No,
brought, or do you think that's why they chose to work with him?
No, he's admitted from the beginning that ever since he was younger, he was an absolutely massive Monty Python fan, and he worshipped those guys, and that's why there's so many like Monty Python style jokes and things and setups in there because he liked their style. He liked the way that you could build up a universe in a Monty Python sketch, and the universe would only last 2 minutes. And then it's gone, and that's what he tried to bring into Hitchhiker's way. He could create a universe. He could create something just for a joke, so it would be so detailed and so rich within 2 minutes, and it's gone, and it's an aside, and that is the influence, and it's really, really clever. Really clever. But I mean, speaking of your Doctor Who's though, I mean you've got Mrs. Doctor Who in. You've got Sandra Dickinson in there.
Indeed, yeah,
and
not the first choice.
Yeah. Well, no, she wasn't the first choice because the first choice was unavailable at the time because the can't remember her name. Who was in the video series? She couldn't do the TV series. But Peter Davison does have a cameo in
He does.
the restaurant at the end of the universe. I didn't actually realize it was him. So there you've got your more
Doctor Who links. Yeah, a lot of years later. Yeah. Or you can have a bit of my liver. It should be nice and fat by now. I've been force feeding myself. Oh God, absolutely. Arthur's face when he realizes that the pig thing wants to be eaten is just absolute hilarious.
Oh, it's superb. The whole restaurant scene is just absolutely mad.
I mean,
speaking of Monty Python, though, do you think possibly in The Meaning of Life, the restaurant in what would technically be in heaven, in Monty Python's Meaning of Life, do we think that could actually be based on the restaurant at the end of the universe with the fish?
It's possible.
Yeah, I'd never particularly thought about that, but then once you kind of start, it could be, because it was 2 years after.
Yeah, correct. Who knows? I mean, everybody used to borrow everything off everybody else in all sorts of manners, didn't they? So it's sort of, even down to crops and things. So it's I think the rotating bit of the Heart of Gold deck was the blankety blank rotating game board.
And apparently the captain of the Golga Frontier Mark, the badge on his hat was later used for Rimmer's uniform in Red Dwarf. It's a badge that Rimmer had, or I think it's half of the badge that Rimmer had.
Oh dear.
I mean, if you look though at when this was made, back in 1980, I mean, it's such a shame that they didn't continue it. I think I don't know whether it was politics or costs or whatever, but back then, I mean, this was around about the time where Doctor Who, was still it's one of its peak periods with Peter Davison joining was the Doctor. You had Blake 7 ending. The BBC weren't afraid of science fiction then. I mean, you're talking it's around about this time that they did Day of the Triffids. And that, so it was a bit of, yes, there was never the money there, you would think, but there was the commitment and there was the chance, the taking risks on programs.
Yeah.
I mean,
go for it.
No, I'm just going to say it could be, because the other thing I learned that I didn't know when I was watching this was that they only had one dressing gown for Arthur.
Yes. Yeah.
And only realized this halfway through the production, and they couldn't get another one because the company that made them had discontinued. So they had to then start being incredibly careful. And apparently, at the end of filming, because they thought at the time there was going to be a second series, they sort of took it away very, very carefully, locked it away. So I don't know whether that's still somewhere, that exact dressing gown.
Well, to be fair, it depends on what state it was, because I know in the last episode, spoiler alert, where they go back to prehistoric Earth, and Arthur and Ford basically spend a year traveling. When they come back in the boat, and he does splash around a lot in the sea. So I just wonder if there's salt contamination. It's going to start of warn it to nothing at like 45 years later.
I love the fact that they went looking for Slarty Bartfast's signature on the fjords in Norway.
The glacier in Norway, something. Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
And the realization, that it comes full circle.
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge time loop. It's
yeah, and the back on Earth, and they're stranded at that point, and they've got prehistoric man, and you've got the Gulgafringians and that there, and it's all just fecked up, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, they're like so much in this, it doesn't make any sense, because at one point Marvin says that he can read Arthur's mind and he knows what the answer is.
Yeah.
But obviously he can't have, because Arthur wasn't eventually part of the program.
Yep.
So
I mean, also the fact. I mean, also the fact that Marvin spent millions of years at the car park, car park attendant at the restaurant at the end of the universe. I mean, come off it. But fair play though is Stephen Moore, who did the part of Marvin. Anytime I hear him speaking on this, all I keep thinking to myself is, "Yes, Mr. Pearson."
I love the fact
Heaven
that
and Perry grow large.
when they're on board of the Heart of Gold, and he's basically explaining that like all the doors have been programmed with a cheery disposition. He's like, awful, isn't it? Just like he's just walking around despairing the whole time. It's just absolutely brilliant. And then you've got like Eddie, the shipboard computer, just trilling at the top of his voice, and Marvin just it's just the playoffs between like electronic characters. It's as mad as the human side of things, and it just gives realism to the whole thing. I think absolutely outrageous and so well done. I was trying to pinpoint. I mean, I have got so many favorite parts to this, and I would love to hear some of yours. I mean, the entire first episode for me is one of the most perfectly paced pieces of television I have probably seen in my life. Everything, just the parallels between Arthur's house getting bulldozed and the Earth getting bulldozed at the same time. And Arthur is less concerned about the Earth getting destroyed, more concerned about his house. And, and even when Ford turns around to him and says, what would you say if I turned around and said, you're not from Guildford, I'm from a planet in the vicinity of Beetlejuice? And he goes, why is that the sort of thing you'd likely to say?
Yeah.
And he goes, oh, this must be a Thursday. I could never get the hang of Thursdays. It's just everything is just so brilliantly placed. He's ranting on about his house getting knocked down. And then you've got these things floating in the sky, and he just goes, what the hell's that? It's just everything about that first episode is amazing. The Gulgafringians, I think it was just so tongue-in-cheek genius to throw that in on like how they got back to Earth and that full circle thing. But I think that whole thing on Magathea, the Slarty Bartfast, I think, is just one of the most deadpan characters in the thing. Yet there's like an almost nihilistic sense to him. He's getting browbeaten by some pan-dimensional mice, but at the same time he's kind of threatening in a I'm sorry I'm having to do this, but I'm threatening you kind of way.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just think episode 1 for me, everything to do with the bulldozer in the house, and just first getting to realize that, there's more to Worth than just Thursday mornings and digital watches is just absolutely genius.
But I love the fact as well in the first episode with what you've just said there is the fact about how bureaucracy is universal.
Yeah.
And, the fact that he had to go hunting for the plans for the demolition of his house.
In the basement.
In the basement, the council offices. He had to dig it out like in a locked
with the lights out.
Yeah.
Oh.
And then then you've got the Vogon fleet turning up saying, well, the plans have been available.
Yes, in Alpha Centauri for 50 or years.
Honestly, it's that perfect parallel between the two. Honestly, I just think it's absolutely wonderful.
I mean, the thing that still tickles me is the whole concept of the intergalactic rock group disaster area with how they play their concerts. Because they're the loudest thing in the universe, so they've actually got to be broadcast from a different planet, from a spaceship. It's just nothing. What is it like? We've got to do
it's all nuts.
In bunkers and stuff like that. It's just.
But I remember all that and sort of how nuts it is and how nuts it sounds, but it all makes perfect sense when you're watching it. I think it's sort of if you go, well, yeah, why not?
You've got to pay attention when you watch it though, because you are bombarded with so much information, especially with all the aside stuff with the information from the book and that. It's not something that you can just half watch. You've really got to pay attention, and that's the thing. I just wonder. How do you think it would appeal to a younger generation now compared to us older farts who might have, we might not have the attention span of the light in the fridge nowadays, but it's. What do you think?
I think it's a difficult one. I mean, the one thing that having watched it, that struck me as someone who loves my Doctor Who, loves my TV, was that there's no such thing as canon in it. It changes from 1 second to the next. The whole thing that struck me is like Ford going, I think Arthur saying what he was going to do today, and he was going to, sit down, do the crossword. He was going to, what was it? He was going to do something with a dog, and I was like, what dog? So whoa, go back, because your house has just been demolished, and apparently you have a dog. And you didn't get upset about this at any point. It's a throwaway line, but nowadays these things would be jumped on in a way that they possibly because you never watched it again. You saw it and it just, that moment was gone, and you never would necessarily be able to go back to it. There was the fact that Ford came into when he saw Zaphod, Zaphod went, "Hi, Ford," and I'm like, "How did you know your name was Ford? Because that's the name he took when he went to Earth. That's not his name." Yeah, and my partner's going, "Oh, it'll be the Babel fish." I'm like, "No, because that would just translate his name to whatever the equivalent was." But it is that thing, whereas these are things that people look at now because every minute of everything is scrutinized on the internet. Every minute is. And they could have a dog that just is mentioned and then disappears. They could have all these things that happen and then are never mentioned again. And I think that's the thing. There are bits of Hitchhikers which feel like it's about to go down one line, and then you never hear about it again. And I really like that about it. I think that's part of the charm. But I do wonder, would people view it the same? Would a younger audience be going, well, they never explained that. Why does that,
Well, there's one thing I will say though, is that we'll discuss the film in a minute, but I'm going to jump past the film to the last, say, 7 or 8 years. Now, the Disney deal, I'm not sure exactly the full machinations of it, but as well as having the rights for the film, Hulu, which is part of Disney, have been trying to develop a TV series of it now since about 2018 or 2019. They've had 7 years where they've been trying to develop a TV series and nothing's come of it because they just can't.
Yeah. I mean, it is pretty much dead in the water. I think they practically blamed the pandemic for everything coming to an end with it all. It was, I mean, they've been assigned the showrunner. I believe it was the guy who did Lost. And I think by 2019 they had some scripts in place. And And then they realized post-pandemic that they, I think in inverted commas, it was couldn't realize it, which I think just basically meant there wasn't going to be the money anymore to do it.
Yeah. The one thing
And I think in a post-pandemic world, that was happening a lot.
But one thing I think as well, and this is going to be a bit of an oddment because some people might not even realize that this happened. But I think also the failure of the Time Bandits TV series, because Apple took Terry Gilliam's Time Bandits and made a series based on it about 2 years ago. It might even be longer than that. Looks gorgeous, just didn't perform at all. And that was an IP that wasn't. It's not a famous IP, but it's a solid IP based on a great concept. I mean, the Time Bandits, the Terry Gilliam movie Time Bandits is absolutely brilliant. And if you've never seen it, get yourself watching it. It's an absolute classic. But you just wonder if it's a little bit too British, a little bit too. It's not mainstream. It was mainstream for a while. It's a bit like Monty Python, you know.
I think you could say the same thing about American IPs as well, though, Craig, because you had the Willow series came and went.
Yeah.
The Dark Crystal series, which I thought was absolutely awesome, and deserved to go on longer. And again, in a post-pandemic world, it all boils down to numbers and money, you know. And
completely, and especially now, how expensive shows are to make.
Yeah, and in a lot of cases, I think it's cheaper, you know, now for films to get binned off, entire series to get binned off before they're even aired.
Yeah.
You know, if they think it's going to cost them more in advertising, then, you know, Batgirl, yeah, absolutely. You know, and, you know, I think there's I mean, it's just probably me being me, but I think there's too many big studios now controlling too much. You know, it would be nice to be in that world where you've got a lot more independents that are able to get the funding to put things out, you know. You know, in the 1980s world where you had all these different, you know, film and video companies pumping out a lot of independently made films and TV series, it would be nice to get back there again. I think it's like turning a tanker, though, in the ocean. It would take a lot of undoing now. And again, in a post-pandemic world, I can't see it happening.
I think as well, though, you know, Doctor Who's proven that you can't just take what's essentially a very British IP and turn it into something else. And I think Netflix kind of proved that when they did Dirk Gently, which I really enjoyed their take on Dirk Gently, but it didn't work on an international market. They didn't get it. They were like just so confused about it. And I think that possibly might have been a part of it if you look at how that did, because I think people expected the quirkiness and the weirdness of that to be something that would fly, and I just don't think it did. And as I say, I think I mean, I would argue it's nothing to do with Dirk Gently. It's a bit like the Hitchhiker, difference between Hitchhiker's book and the radio and everything. It's nothing to do with Dirk Gently, the books, but it is quite a good version of the character going off and doing other things. I think that's possibly a sign that actually that British humor works really well in a small niche market, and it can grow from a small niche market, but you can't invest that kind of money in it because it isn't going to start with the figures that it needs. It might find them over 10 years or 5 years even, but it won't find them from that initial, you know, amount of money you'd have. I mean, how much would it cost to do a proper Hitchhiker's Guide now? It would, you know, I think it would be almost impossible.
$10 million an episode minimum, really. Wouldn't
easy.
It? That'd be big money. But speaking of not just in the sci-fi and the whole British thing, if you have seen any interviews with any of the surviving Pythons lately, they'll tell you that over the last 10 years plus, their earnings have dried up because the interest in Monty Python fell off a cliff. You know, because they're not being repeated, they're not on the streaming services so much. They've hit a brick wall. I mean, the last time they made any money was the last reunion that they did back at the O2 and stuff, and that was just you know, like the greatest hits, best of live. But they found that their revenue coming in, the latest generation just aren't into Monty Python because they haven't been subject to it like we were growing up. Python was everywhere. Python was everywhere, right up until like probably like the early 2000s.
Oh,
You
easy.
were
Yeah.
you were falling over, and anybody, you do a Monty Python quote, and everybody over the age of 50 gets it straight away. If you do that to somebody who's like 25 or younger, you'd be met with just like blank expressions.
But there was nothing like Python when we were growing up, though. It's like Blackadder when it came out. There was nothing like that. Immensely quotable. Like everybody talked about it. But I can't think of a single TV series in the last 10, 15 years that's had that sort of quotability, that sort of instant
The
into the
last,
zeitgeist.
the last kind of generations of stuff like that. You're looking at like League of Gentlemen and the Mighty Boosh and things like that. But you think in the 2010s and the 2020s, I mean, we're either so old and we've missed it, or it's just not really there like there was when we were younger.
But I think even if we were of the age we are now at the time that the likes of Blackadder and Hitchhiker's Guide came out, you would still know about it because people would be talking about it. You'd hear about it, So I just think maybe that isn't there now. Maybe that kind of.
But culture is so much more splintered now.
Yeah,
that's right. I was going to say, everything's so much more fragmented now, isn't it? It's in the way that we watch, the way we consume everything.
Well, this is it. I mean, you look at the amount of channels and the amount of stuff now. Unless a big budget TV series or a big budget film does immediate business as soon as it's launched, the very, very few places will actually support it to a second and third season. I think the only major distributor at the minute who will take big chances on big budget and let them go a couple of series before pulling the rug is Apple. Because they're putting their money where their mouth is, but they're a tech company. They don't care if they're dropping $100 million on a big budget TV series like that. It's a drop in the water for them. They can just see it as a loss leader if they want to. Whereas a lot of the film companies, it's their bread and butter. With Apple, the likes, it's not so much. But I think we need to have a quick time machine, and we'll get ourselves back to 2005. And we'll have a quick sojourn and talk about the movie version of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Now, this is a bit of a. I'll put my hands up. I went to see this the week that it was released at the cinema, and came out with a face like a slapped arse. I thought about the first half of it or so was brilliant, and the second half of it lost me. And I think some of the casting choices were brilliant, but some of the casting choices were absolutely atrocious. So, guys, I'll throw it open to you. What do you think?
I mean, looking at the cast list, you think, how could it fail? With the likes of Martin Freeman, Sam Rockwell, Zooey Deschanel, Bill Nighy, Stephen Fry doing the book. How could it fail? But somehow it just didn't hit, did it? I think maybe For Prefect was a strange choice in Moses' death, and then truncating the whole thing to how long is it? An hour and a half?
About an hour and 45. Plus, they changed the ending. They changed the last third of the film is and now for something completely different.
Although that is Hitchhiker's Guide, because the TV series is different from the radio series, which is different from the book. So actually that bit's fine. But yeah, I would tend to agree about everything to do with the casting and things. Just the casting of the original is almost perfect.
Yeah, agreed. But
to me, I think Martin Freeman, perfect choice. He's been at that point in time from like 2010 to 2015, he was everywhere, and he was the British everyman, and we bought it. Everything from Sherlock, through from obviously to the Office, through to even the Christmas film, man. What's its face?
Nativity? Was he in that?
Yes, it would be Nativity. Yeah.
Yes. God, Was he? He was in the first two of those, wasn't he? Yes,
Yes, he was. Yeah,
the first two of those. But yeah, I mean, he was everywhere. But like Stu said, really great casting. Even Zoe Chandler, I think she was fine. Bill Nye, great. Anna Chancellor, great. Don't know what the hell John Malkovich was really doing there. But I think Sam Rockwell and Mos Def are the two actors in there who just upset the apple cart for me. I think Ford Prefect was wrong, and I think he was the one who was the most wrong. Yeah, the most wrong. But I don't know. I mean, what did you think of Sam Rockwell in it? Do you think he played it over the top, Zaphod, or do you think
it's hard to play Zaphod over the top, though, isn't it? Really, but
this is it's playing him as over the top or playing him as a parody?
Yeah, I mean, they went wrong with the effect for the head
Yeah.
for a start. And
that looked really bad. Rather than having two heads, his head was hidden underneath his head.
Yeah,
And
which
he put his head back, and his other head was on it, and that was really bad CGI kind of blending. It just
yeah, and it's. I mean, thinking back, they sort of basically did a Dark Tower on it, didn't they? Sort of made something very rich into something sort of a bit less than the sum of its parts, really.
See, I didn't have a problem with Sam Rockwell at all. I mean, I think he's a brilliant actor as it is.
I do. Yeah.
I mean, was it Mark Wing-Davies who plays him originally? I mean,
Yeah.
you're never gonna top that. I mean, I think he was the right amount of zany, but I think where it fell flat was script. And I think a lot of that was because it wasn't Douglas Adams. Again, it's all about the pacing and the humor of the pacing in that original show. Even when Zaphod was arguing with Eddie in the original series, and he's like, if you don't shut up, I'm gonna, take an axe to you, kind of thing. And Eddie's just twittering away, and he went, right, get the axe. Just stuff like that, where like the original Zaphod would just throw the right thing in at the right time. But this one was just zany for zany's sake.
If you're doing zany, you've got to play zany straight. If you play zany straight, then you're zany. If you play zany trying to be zany, you're not zany.
But I agree with Stu Mitchell though, and like this is why I don't mind the film, is I can separate it from the book, from the radio, from the TV, because never the twain shall meet anywhere. It's all wibbly wobbly. You can enjoy them all separately. You can, view the bridges that you see when you listen to the radio show. You go, oh, this wasn't in the TV series, and off you go. I think the element for me that spoiled it the most was, as per Hollywood, they had to push the love interest agenda thing. Yes, okay, Arthur was originally going out on a date with Trilly, and there was always that, inkling of an idea there with the TV series, and in the radio shows, it goes a little bit further, but obviously Arthur then goes off with somebody else after being stranded on another planet. And I just think that part of it, as much as I can appreciate the film as a standalone, away from everything else, that bit was the bit that just pushed it a little bit too far for me. I think some of the highlights for me were, spotting people like Bill Bailey playing the part of the whale. I think Warwick Davies did an okay job as Marvin. Obviously, it was nice to have somebody inside a suit, but the voice just,
was perfect.
The design of the thing, and it was great to see our original Marvin in the movie as well, and obviously nice to see Simon Jones in there as well as the Magathian defense computer. There was some nice nods there, which didn't take you out of it and were there for the fans. But I think you're right though, Craig. As much as this was, I mean, almost as much time has passed now from this film than what there was between the original series and the film being, it's almost like for like. I mean, what year was it? 2001, did you say?
2005.
2005.
2005. Okay, so 21 years.
Development started in 2001 with because
Yeah.
the script that they started working from originally was Douglas Adams's final draft script. So so much of the changes, a lot of the stuff that's on there is actually what Douglas Adams
Oh yeah, I
envisioned
mean,
for it.
I don't doubt for 1 minute that he didn't want to just put the TV series up on the big screen. He wouldn't have wanted that.
No.
You know, I mean, he said, I mean, I think it was even So Long and Thanks for All the Fish. He wasn't happy with it. He says, but he wasn't in a great place at the time, and it is what it is. It exists. That's it. You've got it now. And I think this was probably his way of saying, right, we're on the big screen now. Let's do something different. But there is a lot of the writing that just doesn't feel like Douglas Adams.
But
Whether that's the direction, I don't know. But the pacing of it is just wrong. It just doesn't feel right.
I guess if he was there at the time they were doing it, he would have been rewriting it and going, actually, do you know what? That doesn't work. Let's see what happens next. Let's take it in a totally I mean, it might never have got finished, to be fair, if he was there doing it. But look, I was just looking up the guy who did sort of co-write the screenplay, and he's a sort of not someone who I was aware of. But his sort of previous credits are things like James and the Giant Peach, The Little Vampire, Chicken Run. It's not what I'd classify as a similar sort of thing. He's from America. He does weirdly hit the prog thing because he actually wrote the video for In the Air Tonight, Susudio, and Another Day in Paradise. So so he's got that thing. But yeah, he's not who I'd choose. See if someone said to you you're wanting a kind of writer, you would be looking for someone who's a bit more anarchic,
edgy.
maybe.
Yeah.
But I mean, you've got to do what you've got to do when you don't have Douglas there. The money is invested. Where do you go with it?
The Vogons looked good though. Their ships didn't. They weren't yellow, which I think is important because they were yellow in the damn book as well. But,
if he made the effort to make it right the same way twice, that's all you need to know.
Yeah. I mean, they looked good. Towering skyscrapers are exactly how they're described in the book, and that's what they were. But if they'd been yellow, I'd have been happy. But I thought the Vogons, the puppetry on them's amazing. I thought they looked really, really good.
Yeah, good practical.
Poetry's no better though. Still the worst poetry in the universe. Sorry, second worst poetry in the universe.
So, I mean, they say I rewatched it. I mean, I've only actually seen the film version twice. Once at the cinema, when it came out, and once about 6 or 8 months ago. I've not seen it since. I'll watch it, and I was disappointed. But to be fair, I was watching it with more cynical eyes than I really should have. To be fair, I should rewatch it now and give it a little bit more due.
I've got the Steelbook edition in my hand here. There's not a great deal of extras on it, which is often the case for Blu-rays and stuff. But it's mostly deleted scenes. And I think there's a small featurette on the guide itself, but it's not exactly jam-packed with anything interesting, unfortunately.
Strangely, it's the only version of Hitchhiker's available on streaming at the moment. Is the movie, so you can't stream the TV series anywhere, can you?
I'm amazed that the BBC have not.
No, it's not. I know. I was flabbergasted when I was looking around and I had to spring for the Blu-ray.
It was about 2 years ago on BritBox, before BritBox became ITV. It was available on there because we watched it back then.
But apparently it's streaming on Foursome. I don't know where that's based. Actually, it says sorry, the link's not working, so ignore me. It's definitely not.
Either that, Mikie, are you advertising a foursome? I was just wondering.
Oh dear. There's the tone.
Yeah, we're back in the gutter where we belong.
But it's never went away. Last year, they had the experience in London. And then 10 years ago, they did the stage show. They did two versions. One version maybe about 15 years ago, and then they tried to bring it back, and it didn't really work second time, so that tour got cancelled. I saw it twice when they did the tour with the original radio cast. Saw it in Glasgow and saw it in Edinburgh. And really liked it. Thought it was really well done. But it hasn't. Yeah, I mean, they still did that thing in London, which lasted about 6 months or something. That the sort of experience, it was meant to be like a live version of it, I guess. But I don't really understand exactly. I was on all the mailing lists, and I still never understood exactly what it was.
Yeah, I think it definitely generated a lot of re-interest in it, because obviously around 2018 was when they started repressing the radio series on them deluxe vinyl boxes, which are absolutely stunningly beautiful.
Yes.
Funnily enough, somebody not too far away mentioned the Neil Gaiman signature on phase one. Funnily enough, the primary phase is the only one I've got that just didn't come with the signed print.
You've not lost much then.
The other five I've all got the signed prints. So it's nice to have a Stephen Fry signature amongst my collections.
Funnily enough, my Stephen Fry one also didn't come with the print, and I had to message them, and they sent it on. So they obviously weren't very good at including the actual special stuff.
Actually, I think it might be volume 5. I think that was the one I had to shout at them and say, this was supposed to come with a print, and it didn't. But yeah, I'm also not entirely sure, because I got the VHS replica Blu-ray set. That was, funnily enough, also 2018. And it's got the usual bunch of extras that were previously out on DVD. But there was some new featurettes and stuff put on it. Usual Pepper Mills and
Is it Breakfast TV?
Every other topical BBC programme that was around at the time had a featurette of it on.
Did they upscale the video, didn't they? But did it make any difference at all or not?
Yes, it looks really, really good on the Blu-ray. It looks really good.
Because was it shot? Was it shot on video? Was it, or was it shot on? Was it any of it shot on film?
The outside stuff was
like Doctor Who.
Yeah, pretty much identical. But yeah, it was on video in studio.
So of course, the stuff looks incredible, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
So one day, if BBC Worldwide decide that they want to do a 4K restoration like they did with Doctor Who,
they can stick us on it.
Yeah,
we're available.
Never say never. We're cheap and easy.
It's interesting to note as well that we were talking about the radio series there, that, and I hadn't quite realised it was this late. The hexagonal phase only came out in 2018. So
that's 2018, wasn't it? That was the last lot. Yeah. So that's it. Well, anything more to say? What's our big roundup of the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy? I think it's something that any British sci-fi fan, if they've never seen it, give it a go, because you'll have a really good laugh.
Absolutely, echo that entirely. It's probably one of the best things ever committed to film and print and radio, all at the same time.
It's undoubtedly the best use of an Eagles song anywhere ever. And it's still like the only Eagles song that my other half will go, I can't believe that's the Eagles. That's just so good compared to everything else they've done. Which I do think is a bit harsh, but
it's definitely not Hotel California.
It's just a unique thing. I think it's a moment in time. I think if you're a certain age, especially, but it's still so quotable, still so memorable. Watching it again, I was struck how much of it I was literally just able to say in time to it, despite having not watched it in a while. There's not many things. As I said earlier, Blackadder is probably the only other one that springs to mind. Python, probably, I guess, but there's not much that would be just so instantly recognizable to me.
Mikie?
I'm just going to echo these guys. I think it's this uniqueness that sells it for me. And the fact that no matter how you approach it, whether it be the movie, the TV, the books, or the radio series, there's something to enjoy. So whatever medium it is you like, or the audio books for that matter, just go for it. Just go for it. It is mostly harmless.
And that's a very, very good way to end it. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this last hour or so of us wittering on like we love to do. So I'd just like to thank Mikie,
It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Stu Mitchell,
Thank you very much.
and the legend that is Stu Chandler. Thank you very much, mate.
Thank you very much.
We will be back in a couple of weeks' time with something brand new or old. We haven't decided yet. But as we like to sign off, it's good night from me.
It's good night from him.
Take care.
Stay alive.
And be kind.
Yay!
So long, and thanks for all the fish.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Planet Sci-Fi from Planet Marzipan. Check out our brand new Facebook group or email us at planetmarzipanpodcast@gmail.com.